The lingo of hookup culture and the way that we've managed to label things like situationship, breadcrumbing, roster dating, friends with benefits, etc., it is merely a woman's attempt to justify and normalize the way that men dehumanize us in sexual and intimate romantic relationships so that we don't have to feel as powerless as we truly are to their casual acts of cruelty. We have created these labels to better understand the degradation men enact on us in these relationships so that we can distance ourselves from the pain of betrayal that we feel. From my experience and the things that I've witnessed with my friends, situationships typically spawn from maybe you went out on 3 to 4 dates, you thought things were going really well, and then you kind of hang out, and then you just continuously hanging out, and now you're just hanging out all the time, and then he turns to you and he says, oh, I can't really commit right now. In your mind, you're thinking his feelings went away. He had feelings for me at one point, he didn't. I thought we were on the same page. In his mind, from the get-go, he was only sizing you up. He, on his end, knew what the relationship was going to be from the beginning. And in a man's twisted way of thinking, he thought respect for you would be to pretend like he was on the same page in the relationship. His twisted idea of respect for you was to pretend like he liked you. So now you're in a situationship because you feel bad for him. He's now painted this picture where he's like, oh, I just can't commit right now. Poor me, I'm incapable of love. He's not incapable of love, and he's certainly not incapable of loving you. He doesn't want to have to do any of the labor that's required to do in a relationship. And not only is he using you for sex in those situations, he's typically using you for other modes of labor. He probably wants you to think that you guys are also friends. And in female relationships, there's a lot of emotional play, there's a lot of intellectual play in regards to our emotional processing. So now what are you doing? You're training him about his emotions and how to communicate, as well as satisfying his sexual desires whenever he wants it to. Because the other portion of being in a situationship is the fact that they sort of trap you into being on their terms. And instead of talking about what's going on, instead of saying oh, well, I thought, I had this expectation for the relationship. I had this idea of what was happening, and now I feel bad for him because he thinks he can't commit. And instead of talking about it in that form, we talk about it in forms of labels and therefore remove ourselves from the obvious corrupt and abhorrent behavior that the man is exhibiting. We use it to remove ourselves from the fact that that man has one way or another coerced you into a situation that you didn't sign up for and you still are not signing up for. You're kind of trapped in. So then what do? You go to your friends and you say, situationship this, situationship that. And instead of analyzing his behavior, now you're analyzing your behavior. You're probably going through your head about all the things that you did wrong. You're probably going through your head about all the things that you tried to do right to avoid getting into a situationship. And you can't hold him accountable for the obvious lying, manipulation, and coercion because there's a word for it, situationship. So technically he has not done anything wrong. And typically, I sort of find out that I'm in a situationship. I don't ever know that I'm in one. And then I'm like, oh. And there's a very specific feeling of disassociation that I felt in those experiences. I genuinely feel taken from my body because, I was trusting this person. And for me, sleeping with somebody requires a great deal of trust. And they were pretending that I could trust them. But I'm not allowed to act like the experience was violating because we were in a situationship. We were not exclusive. So in that regard, there's no way to hold him accountable when he lies, when he's not telling you about the number of partners that he has, when he's pretending to match the similar expectations for the relationship that you have, when he sleeps with you for as long as he wants and then throws the relationship away while you were in a situationship. I specifically don't refer to any of my relationships as situationships. Actually, when I found out that I was in a situationship, that's when the person told me that we were in one. I specifically use the word relationship to avoid degrading myself and my experience and my connection that I feel with the person I'm with. Doesn't matter if we're a boyfriend or girlfriend, doesn't matter if we're in a casual relationship. That's a relationship. And most recently, I was in a casual relationship with a guy, found out that I was in a situationship, and he was dishonest about the numbers of partners he was having, which to me feels like a direct threat to like my safety and my comfortability in sexual relationships. And I remember I was telling my friend about this. It was like one of our mutual friends, and I was telling her about it. And as I'm telling her, like, oh, and then all of a sudden I found out he was talking to all these other women, she immediately cut me off and said, but did you guys discuss that? I don't know why I would ever have to discuss or explain to somebody why it's unsafe for you to, number one, not be honest about the numbers of partners that you're having, and number two, not lie. Because in my brain, I'm like, oh, that's a person that I respect. So I'm going to be honest about the experience that we're sharing together. But because we were operating under the guise of not exclusive, not only do I not get to hold him accountable for those actions, but most importantly, and the worst part of it all is, I don't even get to emotionally process it with my community. Because we were not exclusive, I don't get to feel wronged for feeling lied to. I don't get to feel violated for having my like safety interfered with. Most importantly, I am more so pointed at and looked at as a scorned woman rather than somebody who felt like literally betrayed by a friend. Because that's how it felt to me in the moment. I was like, yo, I thought we were homies. Why are you lying to me and using my body for spare parts? That kind of doesn't feel good by someone that you really respected and thought was your friend. But the level of respect given to me and my feelings in that moment was masked by the word situationship. I'm not allowed to feel those things because we weren't exclusive. So then the fault lies on the fact that I had those expectations for him in the first place. But that's the bizarre thing about having relationships with men, is that it requires so much trust because they are physically more capable than you to overpower situations. Also because they're more protected than you in social circles. So when they betray you emotionally, your entire experience is discounted by not only him, but often your friends. And so it's difficult to ground down in the body and identify the fact that like, oh, I'm feeling grief, I'm feeling betrayal, because everyone's sitting around talking and acting like it's normal. Like it's normal for you to treat people like that. Like I just didn't play the game well enough. And it can be even more confusing to cope with the fact that he was painting this picture to like make you believe that he respected you as a friend and make you believe that he respected you as a person, only to like literally throw you away when he's done with the relationship. And yeah, obviously I'm imposing my own personal experience, but like this is not just a me thing. This happens to so many women. And so yeah, it's just bizarre to me that like we've neglected to acknowledge that it's not only a deep cut and a betrayal of your trust in physical intimacy, but it's also a deep cut and a betrayal of your trust in emotional intimacy. Often, even if I'm having casual relationships, I see those men as friends and also people. So it's like, you didn't just lie and manipulate me as someone that I was sleeping with. Like, you lied and manipulated me as someone I thought I was friends with. And yeah, because I'm feeling emotionally bitter and betrayed and violated today, I also want to add that I think every single woman that was involved in that situation is going to hell. Karma has a special kiss for women that allow this to happen to other women.
Don't nobody want that man as bad as you. And I'm going to tell you that because I don't want no back talk right now. Just listen. Nobody's going to tell you that because they're going to say it behind your back. Your friend's not going to do that because they want to see you happy. They're happy that you're happy, so they're not going to tell you that. But I'm going to tell you, don't nobody see that man the way you see that man. You have different eyes for that nigga. Case in point. I was talking to my cousin about one of my exes, and I was just like, girl, I just don't know. I just don't know why I thought he was so smart. I don't know why I thought that. Why did we think he was so smart? She was like, oh, but we knew he was stupid. No, we knew that. We knew that. You thought he was very smart. I could not for the life of me understand why you thought that. Of course, she's not going to tell me that because I was ditzy about it. I was so happy to be happy. Your friends aren't going to tell you that, but I'm going to tell you, nobody sees that man the way you see that man. And that idea alone has humbled me in so many ways. Let that settle your spirit. Stop checking that man likes. I'm dead ass. Get out of that man following. Don't nobody want that man the way you want him. Trust me. Trust me. You don't start acting like the pros, girl, for
Flirting is an excellent idea. We should all be doing more of it. Flirting is deeply important to the lifeblood of society, so that when someone comes up to you and interacts with you, it's not that big of a deal. Flirting is about building rapport. It's about towing the line. It's about not actually acknowledging what's happening, but acknowledging what's happening with everything else except for talking. You're not trying to close the deal. You're just swimming around in the vibe. You're just treading the water a little bit, seeing what's here, seeing if talking to this person, interacting with this person is exciting and interesting, and if it stirs anything in you. You're trying to organically catch a vibe, which is 100%, 1,000%, 10,000% more exciting and interesting than going on an app and going like this. None of that, please. And you get to explore new things. You get to learn what people have going on in their lives. 2 months ago, I went to this part of the town I don't normally go to go see a play, because one of the people in it was an actor, and we met at the library and we had a vibe going on. I got to make my own judgments about the play, and then I started to form an opinion about live theater, which is something that I've never had before, because I came out of that play having thoughts about how the script was written, how the actors delivered the script, notes on the costume, notes on the set design, notes on the audience. These are important things to consider when you are critiquing artwork, when you are considering artwork in its context. You learn how to better suss out the vibes. You learn how to trust your intuition more. You learn how to distinguish between which interactions are good, positive, keep going, versus bad, leave, do not do that. If you want to train your gut feeling, you should know the difference between these. It's going to look different for everybody. You're putting in your hours, you're practicing, you are learning what is attractive and unattractive to you, and you learn how to make someone blush. You learn what makes you blush. And you learn from time to time how to get what you want without making anybody feel used. Do I always flirt with the code check person to see if there's a vibe and see if they'll let me check my code in for free? Absolutely. Would I also do the same if I were in a similar position? Absolutely. You learn how to reject people, because learning how to say no is really important.
Dumb people have a higher chance of being successful than smart people. And that's probably very antithetical to what you've been taught to believe. But take it from me, a smart person, an analytical person, dumb people go further in life. And it's not a matter of being smart or dumb. Both smart people and dumb people have one thing in common. They both have a propensity for fear. They both have a way of operating in fear. People who are not very smart and afraid just do what they're told. They just do what they're told. They don't take any risks. They do what they know is going to be secure. They follow the path that is the most traveled. Smart people who are afraid don't take action. They will sit there and they will analyze something to death, and they will prevent themselves from moving forward and taking action. The most important thing is taking action, taking imperfect action. I'm the kind of person who I overthink everything. I'm like, well, I have to make sure that I think of everything that could go wrong, everything that go right, every step, everything's got to be mapped out, and it keeps me from taking action. I'm afraid of looking dumb. I'm afraid of making mistakes. Like, that kind of fear that comes through analysis, even though you might be intelligent for having that kind of capacity to be able to analyze everything, it ultimately paralyzes you and holds you back. I've known a lot of successful people in my life. And one of the first things that astounded me about the people that I've met who have accomplished amazing things in their lives, who have started from nothing, is that they weren't smart, they weren't dumb, they were just action oriented. They believed in themselves. You are not going to think yourself into success. You are going to feel your way into success. You have to follow feelings. There's something very intuitive that's largely faith-based. Like, there's something very, very intuitive about moving forward and becoming successful. As long as you are filling your days with action, you will be successful. If you're not operating out of fear, you're filling your days with action, and you try to map as much out as you can and think everything through as much as you can, to the point where it's not preventing you from taking action, but it's just enough to direct the action that you're taking, you're going to be fine. Do not sit there and analyze everything to death. Because I promise you, I don't care how smart you are, you're not going to. You're not going to think of every single thing that can go wrong. You're not going to think of the road is going to change as you walk on it, as you walk through it. So you cannot map out the road. You got to just start walking.
don't ever lie to me about your socioeconomic background. If you're rich pretending to be poor, I can tell. I can fucking tell, because your socioeconomic background is written all over your fucking face. It's so obvious that you've been doing retinol since you were 5 years old. And people using poverty as social capital, because apparently your life doesn't mean anything unless you've suffered financially. It's fucking weird. And rich people have access to consistent and high quality beauty regimes. So I can tell, because you actually have the disposable income to maintain, you know, a physical marker of wealth. So don't ever fucking lie to me about being poor when your name is fucking, you have a double-barreled fucking surname. Like, everything about you, like, it's so obvious to tell when people are rich, and it's so embarrassing, especially living in Hackney, when people just try and like lower themselves to your level and then act as if you should appreciate the fact that, like, I don't know, you've maybe experienced poverty because your card got fucking declined when you tried to buy like Himalayan pink salt. Like, fuck off. Like, I fucking hate middle class, like upper class people trying to act as if, you know, as soon as like we've got poverty covered, all of our other commonalities will come into place. Like, that's just not how it fucking works. Like, in my early 20s, which I am in currently, we are suffering from an insane epidemic of tribalism, and it's like everyone wanting to form these cliques, and these cliques are based on such superficial, like, dumb identity fucking markers. And it's like, yeah, like, if you're black and poor, like, of course I'm gonna have more of a reason to gravitate towards you. But first of all, by not being black, I already don't want to fuck with you. So like, you adding this whole like poverty story to your life, like, if anything, like, I've already said this before, like, I don't want to have poor white friends. I don't fucking care. If you're poor and white, I'm not interested in you, sorry. So don't even bother, like, don't waste your time lying to me about it.
You have got to stop letting cynical nihilists trick you into believing that pessimistic, edgy, and skeptical towards anything good is the best way to live, because it is literally ruining your life. We've seen study after study that shows that choosing optimism improves your life quality in various areas, and yet pessimism is still the dominating viewpoint for most people. If you're the type of person that says that you're going to live life without expectations so that you can avoid disappointment, then you need to ask yourself why you're so afraid of confronting difficult feelings that you're willing to numb yourself from all the experiences that life has to offer just so that you don't have to sit with hard emotions from time to time. The people who live like that are no happier or nonchalant than anybody else, because disappointment is a part of life and there's no way to completely escape it. Everyone is capable of being optimistic while acknowledging that bad things may be going on in their life, because optimism is a point of focus. I am choosing to focus on the good things in my life because we have seen time and time again that what you place your attention on multiplies in your life. It's illogical to try to use pessimism to avoid bad emotions, because you're going to attract more negative experiences into your life than an optimistic person would. And on top of that, you're still going to feel the negative emotions as you're going through these events, because you're human at the end of the day. It's better to go through temporary sadness than to live your life in a perpetual state of disappointment. Choosing to remain optimistic after going through disappointment, especially one that knocks you off of your feet, is a really strong thing to do, and the rewards match it, because you have greater physical and mental health. You get placed into a positive feedback loop. You have increased gratitude and more motivation to pursue your dreams. How does pessimism even compare to this? Pessimism makes you feel like there's no other way of living life, but optimism is right there, and maybe it's difficult to embrace the first couple of times that you do it, but it gets easier and easier as you commit to it and your life starts getting better right before your eyes. The first step is acknowledging that hope and joy are powerful forces that benefit you in ways that pessimism never could. So I hope that you take the first steps to try out the brighter side of life. Okay, bye!
Every single winter, my timeline is filled with videos about looks, about how to lose 20 pounds in a month, weight loss, glowing up, looks maxing, water fasting, how I went from a 5 to a 10. But in reality, your physical appearance should be the least interesting and the least important thing about you. The other night, I was talking to my mom and I said, oh, I'm no great beauty, and my appearance is the least interesting thing about me. And this was obviously met with contention, with her saying, do you really think that about yourself? And you're gorgeous, why would you say that? But what if I'm not? And so what if I'm not? Saying that my appearance isn't interesting does not mean I'm ugly, because Satan himself couldn't call me ugly. It's just about learning to exist outside of the beauty standard and outside of the obsession with beauty, and learning to love yourself enough to show up as you are instead of as a performance. I spent all of my childhood chasing after the idea of being beautiful and hating myself because I didn't look like other girls or the women I saw on TV, or thinking that my classmates were more beautiful than me. But now that I'm older, so what if other girls are prettier than me? And so what if I'm ugly? My appearance has nothing to do with who I am as a person. So many young women find themselves in this losing game of chasing after a beauty standard that they'll never fit. Beauty is constantly shifting, and trying to chase every trend, trying to fit this beauty standard is a losing game, and you will find yourself as an older woman and you won't even know who you are. You won't even know what you look like or how to love yourself, because you lose your humanity and your personhood chasing after and obsessing over beauty. But when you allow yourself to exist outside of this game and allow yourself to exist as who you are and stop performing, you allow yourself to exist again. You allow yourself to be a person again. And you allow more important things about you to shine through, such as your hobbies, your skills, and just simply who you are instead of your appearance. I understand being a woman, you will always be a thing to society. But when you let all of this go, you stop being a thing to yourself and you allow yourself to exist to yourself. And this is the ultimate form of self-love, to let go of all this and accept yourself for who you are, instead of putting thousands of dollars into your appearance, into makeup, into changing all these things. You accept yourself. We shouldn't have 18-year-olds getting lip fillers or dying on operating tables, or 13-year-olds spending hundreds of dollars on skincare and makeup to be beautiful. And we definitely shouldn't have women in comment sections making fun of each other because someone doesn't know how to do makeup at 25. When we allow ourselves to let all of this go, this idea of beauty and the idea of we need makeup or this, that, and the fourth to be attractive, or just attractability in general, is when we allow ourselves to exist to ourselves and to the others around us, especially other women. We can't have true sisterhood and friendship if we consistently allow beauty to control our lives, our relationships, and our ideas of self and each other. We can only exist if we let all of this go and we only treat our personalities and who we are in our cores as the most important thing. But that's how I feel. Just seeing influencers make millions of dollars on makeup and seeing how much makeup has blown up and just beauty spaces. I just think we have to let all of this go if we actually want change and want to have happy and fulfilling lives. We have to let all of this go because this is just another form of self-harm, and I'd even call it self-flagellation. It's just hurting yourself at the end of the day and hurting young women and hurting just the women around you. So maybe I'm too woke, but this is just how I feel.
I just love watching everyday people who once thought they were nobodies turning into somebodies because they put themselves in front of everybody on social media. And then when they get the realization that they've always been infinitely powerful and beautiful and seen, it just wasn't time for them to be revealed. It don't take TV no more. It doesn't take Hollywood. It doesn't take anything special or spectacular. All it takes is you to be you. All it takes is for you to do the thing that God told you to do. You see the Kai Cenats, the Keith Lees of the world, the Nara Smiths, the Kyla Shays. You are somebody even if nobody knows who you are yet. All you have to do is just do the thing that God is telling you to do. You might not have enough money yet. You might not have enough fame yet. You might not have enough resources yet. But if you just start doing the thing Tabitha Brown did, get in front of the camera and start cooking food. The thing Nara Smith did, get in front of the camera and start cooking food. The thing Keith Lee did, get in front of the camera and start reviewing food. The thing Kai Cenat did, get in front of the camera and start just talking to strangers online. It's not as hard as you make it. You just think that it's hard because you won't take the steps necessary to make it. Do the thing God told you to do. For me, open your mouth. Just talk. Because I thought I had to be fancy. I thought I had to do poems. I thought I had to just talk. God told me to do one thing. Open your mouth and talk. And baby, have the doors open. Have the resources flowed into my life. Have the opportunities met me. Have lives changed as a result of me just doing the thing. And understanding that my success is directly connected to my obedience. Do the thing God told you to do. Don't wait. Start now. And don't think that it's too small just because you ain't got a lot of followers, that you ain't making a lot of sales, that you don't know a lot of people, that you don't have a lot of resources. Just do what God told you to do.
As you get older and you go through things, you realise that your situation isn't unique. Everyone is going through something all the time. And let me tell you, as long as you have life, you will have problems. It is your job to wake up every single day and find things that make you happy. Find reasons to smile. It is your job to surround yourself with people who bring you joy and who bring you peace. It is your job to see the glass half full as opposed to the glass half empty. It is your job to make the best out of the worst situations. And it is your job to keep going even when you don't feel like it. Life is a commitment and you've got to commit to it. And if you do that, you will live a fulfilling life. Because let me tell you, in any life, at any time, you will have problems.